Hey guys, Hera Games here. So this will be hopefully the third and final for now installment of this series build guide for the Division 2. The game is about to be released next week. I'm super excited. Didn't get the like the one that probably the golden edition or something. So I'll be getting the game late next week. But for those of you that are gonna be getting the game earlier, kudos to you. I hope you enjoy it, and I hope you can actually advance pretty further on the game. Probably use some of these builds that I'm posting on these videos. I mean I can tell you right now that I did my best effort to actually make builds that make sense. If you guys can want to use it, or let me know if you think they're not that good. Okay, so let's get right into it. So this will be don't mind this, it's actually part 3 of the video. Yeah, don't mind that, right? Okay. But let's get into the 4 build. So far in the first 2 videos I presented you with the 3 builds, right? First was the SMG striker offense. The second one was the utility sniper, right? The third one was the Nate Madman. And then this is what I think is gonna be a pretty interesting build too, and it's something that I'm looking forward to try because, as you guys know, in the Division 1 we barely ever use any sidearm or pistol at all. So they gave us a chance now. I hear that the pistol build is one that you could actually put together pretty easily, and that's what I'm trying to do. Okay. Now for this particular build right here, I choosing the sharpshooter too, and for the specialization. And the reason I'm doing that is because for something that I will explain pretty soon, I was forced to use the rifle. Besides the pistol, of course, I'm using the pistol. But my secondary weapon or my primary, one of those two, I thought that it would be best if it was a rifle. And the reason why is because this build is all about pistol and it's all about armor and it's all about protections, right? So I want to make these builds as tanky as possible and to pack a punch when it comes to the pistol, right? And it's very fun it's gonna be a very fun build. Hear me out, okay? So the reason I'm using rifle is because I wanted to make use of the 7.5% total armor that the Overlord armament gives me, and that's only given to you if you use 2 pieces, right? So the first piece gives you right off the bat 10% rifle damage, and I thought, okay, if I'm using that, I want to use the 7.5% total armor from the 2 pieces, right? I might as well just equip a rifle, right? And take advantage of the 10% that the 1 piece gives me. And then since I'm forced to use the rifle because I wanted to use the armor, then I'm forced to use the sharpshooter because the sharpshooter also gives you 15% rifle damage. So just because of this armor, now I end up with a weapon that has a 25% increased damage, which is not gonna be the main weapon of the build. I grant you that, but it's good to have in case you need to shoot from afar. People is not really that close to you. You don't want to use a pistol for whatever reason, so it's good to use the rifle. Okay. Now, since you're using the pistol, I thought, okay, one of the skills could be the shield, because why not, right? I mean, you are very tanky per se because you're using all of these other pieces that I didn't mention, but you can see it right here. So the Richter and Kaiser gives you 10% hazard protection 1 piece, 20% pistol damage 2 pieces, right? The Gila Guard gives you 5% total armor 1 piece, 20% hazard protection 2 pieces, right? And then the Overlord gives you 7.5 total armor 2 pieces, right? So you're very tanky. I thought, okay, so if you're using a pistol, you might as well just stay behind a shield. Why not? So that's why I'm saying that the skills, I think the shield and any other are good skills to have on this build. For the primary and secondary, this is where the thing gets pretty pretty interesting. So I'm gonna be dealing damage with my sidearm mainly, right? That means that both my primary and my secondary are gonna be holster. So for that reason, you want the 2 holster talents on those 2 weapons to be okay. So as I was mentioning, in this case, the situation is different, right? So you're gonna be dealing damage mainly with the pistol. So you want your primary and your secondary holster talents to be the ones that used to be before hold the pistol. So I want to have grease and transmission, likely in both of those primary and secondary weapons, right? That give you, the increased swap speed when you move back to your primary, and the transmission is the one that allows you to transfer the shock if that happens. If that happens, if it happens to be applied to you, right? So in this case, double duty, as we had in other builds, doesn't make sense. Just because you're gonna be dealing damage with your primary or your secondary for that matter. So don't have double duty, because you're not gonna be using those two weapons, the primary and the secondary, that much. Okay. So again, for the pistol, then you need Allegro. Allegro is the one that gives you 10% more rate of fire, so you can actually spam that pistol faster. Extra will also be good if you happen to have extra, no problem. Grease is the one that when the pistol is holster, you can actually the other two weapons, primary and secondary, they can swap one from the other and vice versa quicker. And then likely the 3 talents that you want on that pistol, if you can have those talents, which I don't know if the pistol allows you to have that talent, is Strain, Optimism, and Vindictive. Again, Strain is the one that gives you more crit damage as your armor depletes. The Optimism is the one that gives you more damage as your magazine lowers, and Vindictive is the one that gives the whole squad 20% crit damage. Crit chance when you kill someone with a status effect, right? For those talents, for those weapon talents, you need 4 or less offense stats. So I was thinking and saying, okay, based on these talents and based on the build that I'm putting together, the gear perks that you likely want is a Stoppable Force, which is the one that killing an enemy gives you 2% weapon damage for 10k armor that you have maximum. For 10k armor maximum, I assume that's the maximum armor that you can get, right? So it would be nice to have more weapon damage based on the armor, and since you are very tanky, I thought that would make sense, right? Also, you want patience, probably because after it's sort of like you're engaging in PvP, you're taking fire, you go quickly to a cover, which is the one that patience gives you, and then your armor slowly starts to repair 5% every 1 second, right? Now, both of those talents, I thought on them, using them, because both of those two talents, you need to spec into defense, right? And since I was getting so tanky here, I thought, okay, maybe for me to get into this point that I'm so tanky, I actually need to spec, or I will probably spec more into defense. But then this is the thing, right? You need less than 4 offense, and you need probably and you definitely need more than 7 defense to unlock these 2 talents. But in reality, right, I was checking the amount of talents, and there is one talent in particular for the gear that it makes it very nice to have with the pistol, and that is this one right here, which is called the Gunslinger. Now, the Gunslinger is nice just because when you kill someone, if you swap to the sidearm, you refill the entire sidearm and you get another 20% weapon damage for the whole magazine. So the way I'm looking Gunslinger here is you don't get a kill with a primary or secondary because you're not specing into that. So you actually get the kill with the pistol, right? And then as you finish that enemy on the floor, or as you run to him, you swap to your primary. You give him the off with the primary. And then after you off him with the primary, you quickly switch to the sidearm. So when you do that, you will get the entire magazine refill on your sidearm, and you get 20% weapon damage. So this talent right here makes this entire build work. Only one weapon, I mean only one gear perk. The problem with that is that it enters in conflict with these other gear perks, because this one requires less than 5 defense, and these two require more than 7 defense. But to tell you the truth, this is a much better talent for this build than these two are. So I say, you know what? Let's get rid of these two talents. Let's get that instead, right? And then the other problem with that is that if I'm not speccing into utilities, right? I'm not speccing into defense. These weapon talents right here, they require me less than 4 offense, right? So there is a conflict right there, right? And I say, okay, if I'm using this talent that requires less than 5 defense, I will probably need to spec into either offense or the regular utility, right? At that point, I say, okay, I probably won't be able to unlock these talents because I might need to, to spec into offense anyways. So let's just, so this is another talent that I think is good to have. So the other two weapon gear perks, I will go into them pretty quickly. But let's stay here on board, right? When you finish with this build, you actually need, if you do it like this, you are, as I mentioned earlier, you're not specking into anything. At the very least, if you spec at the very minimum for all these gear perks, the trench, I thought it was nice because the trench, you could maybe, if you had a chance, you could swap to your rifle and you can hit the headshots and you can repair yourself, right? And again, you're equipping the rifle anyway, so you cannot take advantage of this gear perk. And then for the cloak, it's like a one safety in which when your armor breaks, enemy skills cannot track you, so that would be nice to have. But it requires less than 3 utilities, right? And I thought, okay, this is the conflict right here. If I spec on the very minimum all of them, I might not be able to fulfill all of these requirements. And that's why I thought, okay, maybe I can get rid of the talent and get this instead. Now I know for a fact that the pistol really handles very well. So I say, okay, this is more weapon damage, it's less handling, but so be it. It doesn't really require anything. So I don't have any offense requirements, right? So this can change. I don't need that, right? And then I will go over that in a minute right there. Let me go back. So by getting rid of these 4 offense stats, I don't need that. I only need to build this less than 5 defense and less than 3 utilities, which means that I can spec a lot into offense, right? I can unlock all these talents here, especially the superior ones. And by having this weapon talent instead of a strength, optimism, vindictive, I get more weapon damage, right? Now, on the blue talents, I chose 5 of them. This is a mistake, because if I remember correctly, you only can have 4 normal gear perks, right? In this case, you probably just let's just get rid of this one right here, because I know for a fact that you can only have 4 normal ones. And you guys can go ahead and look any other superior talent that makes sense or that is good for you to have. I wasn't really able to find any other. It's not that you really need it for this build, because this build is awesome. At the very end, when you guys you guys can see right here at the very end that with this build you get so much hazard protection and so much armor, right? You get up to 22.5% more armor and up to 40% hazard protection with a ton of pistol damage. If you are able to get the gunslinger going, you get you get 20% weapon damage plus another 20%, that will be 40% weapon damage, and you're very tanky, right? You're using a shield and everything. So this build, I think, is gonna be a very nice build and very fun really to use in Division 2. And then the final build, which is a PvE build, I thought I would just throw it out there because it makes sense. This build is gonna be all about damage to elite and all about armor. and all about being healed, right, when you kill enemies on PvE. So again, there is nothing really that I need to go over other than the Overlord Armament is the one that I chose again because it gives you the rifle damage. Right? Okay, so for this build right here, I figure that the Overlord Armament is the one that give you armor, the ones that give you damage to it. So I will spec into rifle. I made a mistake here. Back when I was doing the PowerPoint, I didn't realize that actually the sharpshooter is the one that gives you the rifle percent damage. So I think in this case it will actually make sense to you know just get rid of this and probably use the sharpshooter, right? Because again the sharpshooter is the one that gives you rifle damage, so you definitely want to take advantage of the 50% damage that the sharpshooter gives you to the rifle, right, on this build. So you definitely want that coupled with the 10% rifle damage from the Overlord Armament, and you get 25% rifle damage, right, plus all of these armor on kill and total armor and damage to elites, right? So you're going to be using dual rifles. The weapon talents are pretty straightforward, the same that I've been mentioning throughout this entire video series. All of these weapon talents that only require 4 less offense stats. Now on the gear perks, it's pretty much all what we're seeing. Like on the ropes, the skills give you 25% weapon damage when they are on cooldown. The skill kills give you 35% of reset skill cooldowns. The terminate give you more skill damage when you break an armor from an enemy. And then the unbreakable, which is the skill that I just mentioned, you guys, right, is the one that when the entirety of your armor is broken, you use another armor kit, and you get 25% of that armor back. And if you use an armor kit within the 3 seconds of that event happening, you actually don't use the armor kit, like it's not taken from your inventory, right? And then the entrench, because I think you're using rifle, right? In case you really need to heal and you're on a PvP event, just start landing headshots and you'll get that armor back. Of course, the 2 normal gear perks that you don't want to miss is the harden that gives you 10% armor, and the hard hitting that gives you 15% damage to elites, right? So overall, when you look at all this build, you actually need less than 4 offense stats and at least 7 utilities stats, right? And then combining all of this damage to elite and armor, with this build you can get up to 29% damage to elites and up to 22.5% armor. This is a very tanky, very very directed to inflict damage to those elites. So I think this is all. Now I'm gonna entertain those nerds of you that might share some common hobbies with me, and I'm referring specifically to this. So throughout this series, you're actually being these 2 talents, as the weapon talents are characteristic. You're always confronted with the idea, what do I choose, right? Do I choose Allegro that gives you 10% rate of fire, or do I choose Astra that gives you 20% more ammo? And maybe it's not very straightforward, and it's very difficult to decide, and maybe it's not even that important. But I've been thinking about this, and I thought I will try to find a mathematical answer for that. And this is what bear with me, it's gonna be a little bit of formula here and there, but at the end, I guess, you will see what I mean. So let's assume X as a variable, right? Is the damage per bullet, then Y is how many bullets you got in the magazine. Uppercase R, rate of fire, T, reload time, T uppercase is the time needed to inflict 1 unit of damage, right? So So imagine a bullet gives you, I don't know, 200 damage, right? How T uppercase would be, how long will it take in game to inflict one of those 200 points of damage? How long will it take? If you shoot a bullet really fast, right? So inflicting only one damage, it could take you literally like nothing. It's like a very, very, very small time. It's probably in the order of the nanoseconds, 10 to the power of -9 or something seconds, right? And then B uppercase will be the time needed to inflict the same damage that one bullet does, right? So essentially T or B in this case is the same as X times uppercase X times uppercase T. So if you do a little bit of formula, which I already did, and I try to come into senses, you actually realize that uppercase T, that is the time needed to inflict 1 unit of damage, is equal to this. It's two fractions, right? 1 over X uppercase R plus lowercase r over 60xy. And then B, which is the same as X times uppercase T, is the same as this divided by X, right? Now, after all of this, if you think about it, right, you want the B, when you use one of these two talents, and you use them, either one of them, whatever gives you the lowest B is the one that will give you more damage, because B is the time needed to inflict the same damage that one bullet does. So in whatever case that time is the lowest, is the case that you want. You want to take the least amount of time possible to inflict one bullet damage, right? So if B in Allegro gives you a lower value than B on Ezra, then you will take B Allegro, and vice versa, right? So how do I do this? I know that one gives you more rate of fire and one gives you more ammo, right? So it comes to this. So when you have Allegro activated, your rate of fire increases 10%. When you have Ezra activated, it's the total magazine that increases 20%. So in whichever case, the bit that is actually the lowest is the one that you want, right? So at the end, which one do you choose? And here comes the answer, guys. The answer is, it really depends. And don't be pissed at me or anything, but think about it very seriously, right? So you can do the math by yourself, and actually this is a formula that I'm gonna be using in other videos just to see which weapon is the greatest and the best on this game, right? But think for a second, if R is very large, 1.2 R, the change on this fraction is gonna be more relevant than the change in this other fraction if Y is not as high as uppercase R is. In other words, if the rate of fire already is very high, this number will be higher, and then this whole number will be lower. But if the magazine is very large, this number will be very high, right, or higher, and then the division by a higher number give you a lower number, and then this other value here will be lower. So it really depends. In other words, if you had a very high rate of fire weapon, choose Allegro because you will benefit the most. If you have a very large magazine, then choose Extra because you will benefit the most. Now, this doesn't really make too much sense for PvP, because if you have a very large magazine to start with, and you know for a fact that you can down someone in less than a magazine, by all means use rate of fire, right? Because it's a waste. You want to shoot faster because you know for a fact that you can down someone with less than a magazine clip. So use rate of fire so you can down actually faster. Okay, so as I was saying, I got distracted for a second here, guys. But as I was saying, that's the main idea, right? You want, you know for a fact in PvP, your magazine is large enough for you to down someone, then don't use Extra. Use Allegro instead, which gives you more rate of fire. But if you know that you are probably short in the amount of you know that you're not gonna be the magazine clip is not enough for you to down someone with only one clip, then you probably benefit the most using extra instead. Okay, but that doesn't really coincide with what we found here in this mathematical expression, right? This mathematical expression is just about minimizing the value, right? Whatever value is them, give you them, whatever combination here gives you the minimum, that's the one you want. And what this tells us right there is that you have a great rate of fire, then invest on Allegro. You got a great clip, a very large clip, then invest on extra. Okay. All right, guys. I will leave it there. This is probably the end of that series. It was a 3-video series showing you the builds that I will plan to use on the Division 2 shortly before the gear sets come out. Again, this is all about weapon talents. I just want to quickly summarize the weapon talents, as you guys might remember. They come in the form of 3, one characteristic talent, one holster talent, and one active talent. This is all for high-end weapons, right? And then the gear perks, many different pieces. You can put different talents on them. Some pieces allow you to put 2 talents, some other pieces allow you to only put, I'm sorry, I should have been saying gear talents, I should be saying gear perks, right? Some pieces allow you to put 1 perk, some pieces allow you to put 2 perks. Whichever the case may be, you will have to choose between normal perks and superior perks. Choose wisely. Check my videos, okay? And you will find out based on the builds that I provided you and based on all the summary that I gave you of weapon talents and gear perks, which are the ones that suit you the best in terms of the play styles that you like to play the most, okay? Again, thank you for watching. I hope this series was entertaining for you. And you know, as always, either like or dislike, comment, subscribe if you want to, and share. Okay? See you guys.